Before this story truly begins, pause for just 1 second and imagine this. You're thousands of feet in the air, your entire life reduced to a single suitcase, your child sleeping against your chest, and strangers judging you without knowing a thing about the battles you've survived. If stories about resilience, justice, and quiet strength move your heart, then stay with me until the very end, and if you believe kindness still matters in this world, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so more stories like this can reach people who need them. They were already boarding when Daniel Carter felt the familiar knot tighten in his chest. Airports always did that to him. Too many eyes, too many assumptions. He adjusted the strap of his worn backpack and glanced down at his daughter, Lily, curled up in his arms, her small fingers clutching the edge of his hoodie. She was 6 years old, light as a feather, exhausted from the long drive to the airport and the tears she'd cried earlier when she asked if her mom would be there to pick them up. Daniel had smiled and said, "Soon," even though he knew that "soon" was a word built from hope, not certainty. Daniel was a single father, not by choice but by fate. 2 years earlier, his wife had passed away after a sudden illness, leaving him alone with a grieving child and a life that seemed to collapse overnight. He sold his car, moved out of their apartment, worked double shifts, and learned how to braid hair, pack school lunches, and hold himself together when Lily cried herself to sleep. This flight was supposed to be a turning point. A new job, a fresh start, a chance to rebuild something that felt like home. He had used nearly all his savings to buy the tickets. First class, of all things. Not because he wanted luxury, but because Lily had never been on a plane before and was terrified. He wanted her to feel safe, to have space, to feel like for once, life wasn't squeezing them into the smallest possible corner. As they stepped into the first-class cabin, Daniel felt out of place immediately. Polished shoes, crisp suits, perfume that probably cost more than his monthly groceries. He lowered his voice, whispered to Lily that everything was okay, and found their seats. That's when the flight attendant stopped him. "Sir," she said sharply, blocking the aisle. Her name tag read Megan. Her posture was rigid, her smile non-existent. "I think you're in the wrong section." Daniel swallowed. "No, these are our seats. 2A and 2B. She glanced at him, then at Lily, then back at him, her eyes lingering on his faded sneakers and creased jacket. "First class is very exclusive. Are you sure you didn't misread your boarding pass?" Daniel felt heat rise in his face. He handed her the passes without a word. She studied them, frowned, then sighed as if deeply inconvenienced. "Sir, I'm going to need you to step aside. You're holding up boarding." "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "My daughter is tired." Megan's voice dropped, colder now. "Rules are rules. Please step out of first class." Heads turned, whispers floated. Lily stirred, her eyes opening just enough to sense something was wrong. "Daddy," she murmured. Daniel's heart cracked. "It's okay," he whispered, though it clearly wasn't. Despite the valid tickets in her hand, Megan called another crew member. A brief, tense exchange followed. Then the words Daniel never expected to hear. "We're going to have to move you to economy." Something inside Daniel broke, not loudly, not dramatically, but in that quiet way that happens when you've already lost so much that there's nothing left to defend yourself with. He didn't argue. He didn't raise his voice. He just nodded, gathered Lily closer, and turned to walk away under the weight of judgment. But 1 minute later, everything changed. A calm, authoritative voice echoed from behind. "What's going on here?" The captain had stepped into the aisle. Megan stiffened. "Sir, there seems to be a seating issue." The captain looked at Daniel's passes, then at Lily, now fully awake and trembling. He frowned. "These tickets are valid." A hush fell over the cabin. "I watched the entire interaction on the monitor," the captain continued evenly. "And I heard the tone used." Megan's confidence wavered. "I was just following." "You were making assumptions," he said, cutting her off. "And humiliating a passenger." Daniel stood frozen, unsure if he should speak. His voice barely came out. "I don't want trouble. I just want my daughter to feel safe." That was when the captain's expression softened. "You're not the problem here," he said. Then he turned back to Megan. "Apologize." Right there, in front of everyone, Megan's composure collapsed. Her face flushed, her eyes filled with tears. Slowly, painfully aware of every gaze on her, she lowered herself down, meeting Daniel at eye level, her knees touching the aisle floor. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice shaking. "I judged you. I was wrong." The silence was overwhelming. Daniel didn't feel triumph. He didn't feel victory. He felt tired. But he also felt something else, validation. He nodded gently. "Thank you," he said. "Please just be kind." The captain helped Megan stand and address the cabin. "We will not tolerate disrespect of any kind on this flight." Applause broke out, hesitant at first, then stronger. A woman across the aisle wiped her eyes. A businessman nodded at Daniel with quiet respect. As Daniel and Lily settled into their seats, Lily looked up at him and smiled. "Daddy, we're okay," she said. "Yes," he whispered, tears finally escaping. "We are." The rest of the flight passed peacefully. Megan avoided eye contact but later returned with juice for Lily in a blanket, her apology unspoken but sincere. When the plane landed, Daniel didn't feel rich or powerful. He felt something better, seen, respected, human. And if there's one lesson in this story, it's this: you never know what someone has survived just to be standing where they are. Kindness costs nothing, but judgment can cost everything. If this story touched your heart, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us share more stories that remind the world empathy still matters. And remember, sometimes, the strongest people are the ones who endure quietly, holding their children close, hoping for a gentler tomorrow.